Dear CI, welcome to this webinar on the goal setting process for 2012. And I'm Sean Steven, who heads talent management. And as a process of the new performance management system, we did tell you that we will start with the goal setting exercise from 2012. And thanks a lot, and everybody did take the appraisal process and it was done well. Now coming to this goal setting process, this is a new process, so I would request all of you to have some patience in terms of understanding, and we are always there to help you, so you can reach out to me anytime when you are doing your goal setting process. Now coming to how this PMS cycle is going to pan out is between April to May of this year, we will be now having a proper goal setting exercise. Now, what does goal setting exercise mean? It is basically an expectation from each one of us what we are supposed to be delivering for this year, which is entire 2012, so that we can appropriately be assessed and appraised and rated during the year end process. Now, how does the framework now work? So there is a planning process. So goal setting is merely more and more of a planning process. So what is that we will be going to achieve throughout the year is something that we are planning out in the performance planning. The next stage is managing performance. So I would request you to actually see the previous slide. If you see, there is a process of setting up the goal which we do now, but we also know that in CI there might be a chance where there are some goals which are revisited in the middle of the year, because there might be a change in the chairmanship, or there might be a change in the committee, or the kind of work we do. So we appreciate people to do some kind of a midterm review during the month of July or in June with their respective supervisors and HRDs, just to see the goals are really aligned. So in the event if there are anything to be readjusted, and some goals which were pre-decided need to be like kind of retweaked, there is a mechanism for it. So we would appreciate everybody to have a discussion. And the next stage is the reviewing process. So once we plan any kind of a goal or an activity, next is we start periodically following it up with the goal. Now comes reviewing of the performance. This is the proper appraisal process which happens at the end of the year during December. That is the overall goal, how we started doing it, and what is that we have achieved against the goal, which is result versus objective, is something that we will do. And accordingly, recognition of performance in terms of compensation and apart from other rewards is something which will follow in the appraisal process. Now coming into this whole goal setting process, it's a very simple 3-step process from a top down approach. So what we say when we say top down approaches, we at CII are, at the end of the day, is like an institution. So we all work as part of one department, and every department works towards the larger objective of CII. So each department is headed by an eminent, HOD, which means the organizational vision is being taken by the respective department. So they work in those lines of the department to attain that larger objective, which means every employee should know what is the objective of that department for that particular year, so that when you know that objective of the department, you accordingly start planning your activities in line with the department's activity. So as the first step is, every HOD creates what is called a departmental endeavor document. So I will be sharing this in detail with you, how it looks and everything. So first the HOD sets the detailed endeavor document, and then shares it to the respective desk heads and the other people managers in the team, so that first they start setting their individual goals and responsibilities. Once they set their goals and responsibilities, then they actually start helping the team members create their individual KRAs. What we mean by KRA is key result area, which means for that particular year, what are those activities that me or you as an individual should be doing in priority to the departmental work. So, as far as the HOD endeavor document is concerned, most of the HODs have already created. Now that will be cascaded to the next level, which is the desk heads. Now going to the individuals, so the goal setting process starts from the 1st of June, and we expect and we request everybody to kind of complete the entire individual goals for them before, or on or before the 20th of June. So this will help you plan your activities in a very clear dimension. Now coming to this three-step process. So how is that we are actually arrived at these goals? Before starting this entire exercise, let me give you some perspectives. That is, we as a larger organization have done or undertaken a study called as competency or a role dimension study. So when I'm just sharing with you what is the competency or the role dimension study. It is basically a study that we undertook early last year in the month of August or September, and we kind of so you can now see that. So we okay we undertook this study in order to just identify what is the various roles and responsibilities that everybody in CII do. So we involved an external consulting firm to study, and from there we have arrived what is the core job that CII does. So based on which, please pay very clear attention. We at CII largely do 5 kinds of work. They are basically, please see the left, they are basically research. Their research and report creation is one major activity. Next one is policy development and advocacy. The third major activity that all of us are involved is in advisory and training. And fourth is project management, and fifth is event management. So these are what we call it as the larger families of jobs that we do. So across CII, from the HOD till the last employee, everybody does this job in varying levels. So what does competency matrix says? When we undertook the study, we kind of knew that in this organization we have various levels, starting from an executive or an engineer to say the next level, which is an executive officer or a counselor, or the next level, which is basically a deputy director, and then you also have directors and the senior counselors of the COEs. So which means what is changing when somebody is an executive, and when he becomes an executive officer or a deputy director or a director for that matter, what is each one supposed to be doing in that particular role is what this role dimension talks about. So for example, let me take about a simple family which is called the research and report creation. Please see, as an executive in the report and creation, I need to have the ability to collect data from multiple sources and create basic reports. Whereas when the same work at an executive officer level, please understand the expectation is he needs to have the ability to collect data from multiple sources and understand contemporary business issues and create basic reports. Similarly, if you see the same job family in a deputy director role, it says he needs to have the ability to design surveys and questionnaires, identify trends, understand advanced contemporary business issues, create white papers, and get coverage for reports in media and various other forms of journalism. When the same role, when it is what is being expected from a director is he needs to set agendas and report concepts and engage with ministries, universities, and think tanks and other agencies and identify agendas and initiatives for research, conduct industry wide research, and higher coverage. So, what does this mean? This means that every role has got different set of expectations to be done on various things. So similarly, even in a project management or even in an event management, what is expected out of an executive is far different from what is expected out of a director. So this is something what we call it as a role expectation document. So if somebody is in a position of an executive or an executive officer, this is what is being expected. So along with the expectation, you also have the skill sets, which is functional, behavioral, and attributes, which are very different. So if you just see at an executive level, what you require is somebody who is action oriented, has an analytical ability, and has all these attributes. Whereas when the same person becomes a deputy director, you see suddenly, you know action orientation is required, but you see something coming up here, which is thought leadership, which is how much of thinking I can start contributing. Similarly, when the same role which becomes a director, you actually have a different thing, which is thought leadership ke alawa you also have what is called the growth aspiration, which is being expected. So it very clearly now states what is expected in each role and what is the skill sets required in each role and what are the kind of attributes that the person should be exhibiting. So this is now very transparent and we have shared it so that you understand what is actually expected out of each of these levels. Now having said that, this now becomes a reference guide when somebody is making their respective goals and carries. Now coming to the next sheet. So this is one part. What is expected out of my role? Now coming to the next one, which we talked about, is the departmental endeavor document. So what is a departmental endeavor document? As I told you, for example, everybody works as a part of larger department, which means all of us should have some kind of an understanding what is the large picture of the department. So what is expected out of the department for that particular year. So this is set by the respective HOD and cascaded from top. So this is just an illustration. So if you look at, so one department feels they need to attain this number one position with their various stakeholders, and this is their endeavor. They want to increase in the membership services or government partnerships or societal or national building or increase CI visibility, or it could be global collaborations or financial sustainability. So these are various parameters which they would want. Now having said that, what are the levers or what are the role dimensions with which they want to attain it? So every HOD now cascades what is the kind of research that they want, what is the kind of policies that they want, what is the kind of advisory and training services, and similarly events, and what is the kind of financial budgets that they expect. Having said that, based on which the responsibilities are very clearly now shared by the respective HODs, which means an HOD shares his or her vision for the particular year for the department, and it is being cascaded for the entire department to have a very clear clarity and direction as to where we are heading to. Now coming to this third important point, which is how is these two linking to you and me. Having now said that, I know what is expected out of being an executive or an executive officer or a director for that matter, and I also know what is expected from my department. Now we move into the third segment, which is my individual caring. So how we go about doing is, this becomes a very clear direction document for every one of us to perform. So as I told you, these are various 10 activities that we do. So now we know what is expected out of the role, we know what is expected out of the department. Now we are writing our individual goals or the KRAs. This is a pre-discussion document. So this will become final once you discuss with your manager or your respective supervisor and sign and seal it between both of you. So these are largely the 10 activities that we do in CI, which I told you: development of reports and papers, research, conduct meetings, secretarial assistance, and people development. Please understand, from now on, people development becomes one mandatory goal for every people manager, whether he has team reporting or individual reporting, but it becomes one mandatory. Similarly, I am coming to now, having said that, so you know what the HOD expects, based on which your manager now shares the expectation. So on these various parameters, wherever the expectations are, now there is an objective which comes very clearly. For example, it could be research. The objective should be conduct 2 to 4 contemporary research on or before August 2012. See, this is something which is actually coming from the HOD's endeavor document, where the departmental needs are very clearly articulated. Now, when it comes, so similarly, when it comes to say event, organize ABC event with a revenue of so much of sponsorship, or it could be saying that organize meetings and seminars and workshop and increase, say, number of visitors by 15% as against last year. So it could be a project management, so initiate 2 to 4 projects specific to the sector on or before this one. Or people development, complete an annual goal setting process for all the team members on or before this, so that a very clear clarity is brought. Now, having said this objective, please also understand, now what happens is, this is something which comes from the endeavor document. Now this is something that you will refer to your respective role document sheet. What we mentioned was, so if this is something which is expected from, say, an executive officer, this is actually coming from the HOD's endeavor document, or the respective descade then cascade set. This comes from your role document. So what is something that an executive officer at that point should be doing is mentioned here. Hope it is going clear till now. So it's a very simple process. So you have what is the expectation shared from the HOD or the desk head or the manager becomes your objective, and what is your activities around that becomes something that you pick up from your role dimension sheet. Now what is that you do next is that you go and discuss this with your respective supervisor. So supervisor here means anybody who immediately rates you, appraises you, or administratively sees you on a day-to-day basis. You go and discuss with them in terms of what is called the weightages. So let me take a minute here to just help you understand what weightage mean. Weightage means if you have 100% of your time starting to 100% as your task, where do you put your maximum time and effort on which objective, based on which you actually start kind of creating weightages. And please understand, the weightages, there is no strict rule that it should be all 15, 20, nothing. There could be only, you are doing 3 activities, out of which one could be 60%, the other could be about 30%, the other could be about 10%. So it could vary according to the nature of your work area. So accordingly you put your weightages, then go and have a discussion with your manager. Now this is a new thing, which means we are now clear in terms of sharing that you get your expected level of performance discussed and clarified in the beginning of the year. So what do you mean by level of performances? Please refer to the rating scale which we kind of articulated during our appraisal process. So we have this 5 new rating scale, which is starting from 5 to 1. Please understand, I'm clarifying again and again, 3 is not average. 3 means best, which means if I have been asked to deliver 10 tasks, if only I meet that expectation, I'm eligible for a 3 rating. So please be clear with that. So which is like it is meeting expectation, and 2 is did not meet expectation, which means like if I was given 10 and I could do only 5, which means I did not meet expectation. And the other one is if I was given 10, I met only 1 or 2, I'm significantly below expectation. So there could be only two possibilities. When somebody is setting an expectation, either I meet the expectation or I do not meet the expectation. There is nothing midway about it. Now coming to the fourth and fifth is, fourth is very clearly exceeds expectations, and fifth is significantly exceeds expectation. And I would request you not to go with the numbers but to go with the definitions. Please read what is met expectation. Consistently achieve performance expectations and work is of highest quality. So this means the benchmark is like high. Then comes your 4 and 5. 4 is very clearly exceeding the expectation, and 5th is significantly exceeding the expectation. Now coming back to this point, so which means in the beginning of the year, when the goals are given and where the weightages are being discussed, you need to kind of discuss what is the expected level of performance on each of these work areas. Please understand, this becomes your base document for your performance discussion at the end of the year. So just pay more attention, have a clear discussion with your managers. Now one more thing is, we do know, because we are in CI, there are chances that we take a lot of unplanned activities. Please understand, unplanned activities is something that we will always consider at the end of the year, where it will be put and you could always revisit the percentages. But you still need to have a concrete direction in terms of where my major work deliverables are. So when you set, and we do have a provision at the end of the year where you can accommodate unplanned activities and how it could be rated. But still, on your all your other major activities, you need to have your performance expected discussion in the beginning of the year and set right. So team CI, it's a very simple process, and we really look forward for each one of you, to complete the goal setting process, and we are always there for the entire assistant at any given point of time. You could reach out to me, and you could send an email to me. My email is shaun.stevn@cii.in, and we will be there to help you out and ensure that all of you are directionally taking very clear clarity in terms of work and work deliverables. So it's a simple 3-step process. Understand your roles and ask for what is the departmental expectation, and create your individual carries. Then go and have a discussion with your manager, finalize your weightages and your expected level of performance, and then share it with the HR team on or before 20th of June 2012. At any point in time, if you have a doubt, please feel free to reach us. And thank you once again for taking out time and understanding the goal setting process. Thank you.